It's time for the sharpest minds in the beauty industry to come together from around the world to share their brilliance, knowledge, and know-how to help you grow personally and professionally. These are the industry disruptors, the trendsetters, the leaders that think differently and change the standards forever. This is Lessons with Legends with your host, Jason Everett.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jason. I hope you are having an incredible day. I hope that your day, no matter where I find you, if I'm finding you in the middle of the night or in the first thing in the morning or whatever you're doing, I hope that this moment is going to be something that you will remember for a very long time. Because if you are brand new to Lessons with Legends and you haven't seen this show, we get people from, as it said, all over the world who've done some really incredible things to come together and share with you guys some really powerful things that have made them incredible. And the person today who I have on is no exception. And do me a favor, you guys, if this is your first time on Lessons with Legend, would you comment and say newbie in there? We'd love to get you guys connected, get you guys welcomed, grouped in things that we do. And also, do me a favor, and if you like this video as we go through it today, share it so other people can tune in and check out what it is that we are doing today. If you don't know me, I'm Jason Everett, and I have worked with salons all over, internationally and nationally, for probably almost the last 10 years or so. And in the last 10 years, I've had the pleasure of running into some incredible people like Anne, who is going to be on with us today. And Anne Mincey, I just have to say, she has been somebody, and I'm going to show you her video in just a second. She has been somebody that from the very first time I met her, I knew she was special. I knew she had something that other people just don't have because of her presence, because of her being, because of how she creates a connection with other people. So I'm going to show you a quick video. Then I'm going to bring in Anne. It's going to be incredible. So hang tight. Join me for this show with Lessons with Legends. Here's Anne's video, and then Anne's in the wings getting ready to come out. All right, guys, here we go. Check out a little bit of Anne Mincey.
So here's my advice to salon owners. Remember your first love. Remember why. Remember why you love to pick up that comb and that blow dryer that creates loyalty, it creates creativity, it creates this feeling of trust, and you can begin to be loyal again to yourself.
Come on, Anne, welcome to the show. So good to see you. How are you?
Thank you so much. And like all of your other guests, I'm sure they have said what I'm about to say. I can't believe that I'm included in this group of international people who have contributed to our industry that you call brilliant and have know-how and knowledge. Thank you, Jason. I'm really touched to be here with all of your listeners, your guests, and your friends.
Yeah, well, again, thank you so much. I mean, we were talking kind of right before we went on the show, and I had said to you, Anne, you know, I said, the thing that I love about Lessons with Legends is every single person who's on Lessons with Legends says the same thing to me. They're like, this is a big deal, and I don't really feel like I'm a legend or whatever, and you were humble as well as we went through it, and I want to say, and there's always been something special about you. And the very first time I met you was at, I don't know if it was a rack or symposium for Redken.
I think so.
One of those, and you came up, and I think, I met you with Blair and with a couple other people, and you gave me this big long hug, and it was just, the thing about you that I loved the most was how present you were, how connected and grounded you felt. And I didn't know anything about you other than I was impressed with your presence. Mm-hmm. And then, not too long after saying hello to you, I see you up on stage telling stories and sharing your wisdom and knowledge and just really impacting people because you have this ability to kind of like speak to people's hearts instead of to their ears. And I just think you do incredible work that way. And so as we go through this with you guys today, if you've ever seen Anne anywhere and you've connected with her, do me a favor and comment in the comment section and say you've connected. And if Anne is new to you, do me a favor and say I'd love to meet her one day because I hope that your meeting with Anne, I have no doubt, would be just as cool as mine was the first time. So good to have you on the show, Anne. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So first of all,
grateful to be here.
Yeah. Where are you in the world today? Just so everybody knows what part of the world. I'm here in California. Where are you today?
My life epicenter is in Portland, Oregon, just outside of Portland on the way to Salem.
Nice.
And we have a home here. I'm sitting in what I call my sanctuary room.
Yeah.
This is where I come to get quiet, to do my meditation, my prayers, my journaling, writing that I've done, preparing for programs like this.
Yeah.
And it just gives me a space where I can separate myself from the noise of the world and to really get quiet and hear the still small voice.
Yeah, totally. And that is a big thing, right? And I was going to ask you some questions on that, because I think for a lot of people, they are so busy and they're so overwhelmed and they're so, I guess, just busy. Busy is that word, right? Is we glamorize the word busy in society, right? Busy is a sign of success. And I think the thing that, again, going back to what I love about you, is that despite the busyness, you're present. And I think that kind of leads me to one of my, get to know you questions that I want to ask Anne. Is like, where is your favorite place? If you want to go and disappear and retreat off and kind of get grounded again, where does Anne go to do that? Is there a place? Is there a thing you do? Where do you go?
Oh my mind went 3 different places when
That's
you
good.
said
Tell
that.
me all 3. I want to know all 3.
First of all, I mentioned my sanctuary here at home. Mm-hmm. I love to be home. And the second place I go is on my yoga mat. I do yoga about 3 days a week. And when I go onto my mat, I just center myself there, and I am present on the mat for an hour and 15 minutes. In the world where I would go to escape, our friend Peter Mellowed has a fabulous place in St. Thomas.
Nice.
And he reminded me the other day that I had been there 16 times.
Wow.
And I had never kept count, but it is a place where I can go and truly get the food in that I need and lock the door and just go out on the terrace and spend a week at that beautiful place of respite. And then my favorite place on the planet of all time is in the South African bush, where you get up at 5:30 in the morning and the animals are coming down to the watering hole, and the sun is coming up, and there's no other sun in the world like the South African sun. Wow. And that for me has been a place, a memory that I can go back to and get that silence and that peace in my heart. So those are the places that come up for me when you ask me the question.
Yeah, well, I've been to Tanzania. I've not been to South Africa, but just being in Africa in general, what was life-altering for sure. And I think to your point on being in that place, it just has a very different sense of power, and it's just a very different environment in general. Right?
You have to remind yourself you're not at the Cincinnati Zoo. This is this is the real deal. And the survival of the fittest and life and the circle of life is out there in the South African bush. So you learn a lot of life lessons. Totally. And the most stars you will ever see in the whole world are in that South African sky.
Yeah, totally.
Beautiful.
If you've ever been to Africa, do me a favor, comment in the comment section and say Africa. I'd love to know. If any of you guys have been, it is amazing. And so to your point, Anne, not only was it a place you've been, but you can kind of go back to that memory and hear what's going on. You can do that. That's fantastic. And you can do it. Now, when we talked before, by the way, what I love about Anne is that you get lost in conversations. Anne and I chatted. We do an interview prep before we do this, and Anne and I got lost in a conversation for an hour and a half or something before we did this, and it was fantastic. And I think what I want to do with you now, Anne, is kind of get lost in a conversation. But I want to talk about something that you had said in our last conversations. We talked about this idea of a cup of time that you were talking about. And I think the whole idea of this broadcast and this show was that, you really listen with purpose. You really get into the heart of it and you connect with people differently. And I hope if anybody gets anything out of this broadcast today, it's the ability to connect with people at a deeper level. So Anne, I really want to find out from you a little bit about this idea of a cup of time. Can you tell me about that? Because I think it's brilliant.
Sure. I have a great friend here in Oregon, and one day we were talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And she said, I need to get together for you. I would love to have a cup of time with you. And it just sparked this wonderful feeling of not just grabbing a Starbucks coffee and sitting down for an hour, which is valuable, but moreover, drinking in each other, drinking in what's happening in our life, taking a sip of the goodness of the universe of God in our lives, and really being grateful and sharing those things. So from our conversation and preparing for this day, you said, why don't you take that idea of a cup of time and do a Facebook Live and meet with your friends all over the world once a week with your favorite cup. Today, my favorite cup is my New York City cup
Love it.
From Starbucks. And to share what that cup means to me and how what is inside that cup is more important. The memories of being in New York City, the friends that I have there, my wonderful relationship with Redken that I have there, and sharing that, and then having my friends also share back with me their lives in their cup, and doing it in time. And I believe that it's just so valuable. The one lost art that we have is the art of conversation.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that so much anymore. And in the salon industry, conversation is everything.
Yeah.
Because if you can come to your client with full-on presence, therein is your wealth.
Totally.
They will return to you because they know that there is a listening, caring, compassionate person, and virtually you are sharing a cup of time with every single person that comes in, whether it's for their hair or their nails or their massage or their facials, whatever the service is, you're serving up a cup of time for them.
Totally. Well, I mean, I think, it's been said lots of different ways, but I just really, I think about it, and you really can, you really can get almost everything you can get more of except for time. And I think that idea that you're gifting a piece of your life with another person is just a really powerful way to say, I'm spending time with you, whether you're being paid to do it or not, or you're just, spending that time with that person because you want to. It's really powerful. And that metaphor of like a cup of time and hearing the stories and the person, it's just a different way of thinking than just, okay, I have a client sitting in my chair today and I want to get you out of here as fast as possible so I can get on to my next person. It's like there's all of those distractions. And to your point, you said I was just on the phone. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm texting and I'm splitting my task 800 different ways and trying to make things work. And what would you say, Anne, is the thing that has allowed you, the most to be able to stay present and connected in a very hyper digital world? Like what are the tools that you use to still stay present and stay connected?
I don't know if there's anything scientific about this.
That's okay.
I've never read it anywhere.
Yeah.
I've spoken in my classrooms about it.
Yeah.
And it's a little complicated, but this is what I do and how I have stayed present. First of all, I take a breath. I take a long, slow, deep breath, and I look at the other person, and I find something about them that I can appreciate. Whatever it is. Maybe it's our background and our history. It could be a great accessory they're wearing. It might be a wonderful color of lipstick or whatever it is.
Do you like my lipstick today?
I love your lipstick today. The gloss is just perfect.
Perfect.
But I find something about them I can appreciate, and I stay focused on the appreciation. So I breathe and I appreciate. We call that coherence, when the mind and the heart are in sync. That's when we can really tune out whatever's going on around us. And then, this is what isn't so scientific. The other is, but this is my own little practice that I've been using for 40 years. We know that that the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, right? Mm-hmm. And the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. So here's my point. If a person is speaking about something creative, visual, a dream, an aspiration, their family, anything emotional, that is right brain stuff. Mm-hmm. So I look in their left eye, and I stay focused on their left eye.
Interesting.
They don't know that I'm only looking in their left eye, because when we look at somebody, it looks like you're looking in the whole face. Mm-hmm. Conversely, if they're talking to me about something logical, business, numbers, schedules, plans, like you say, the busyness of my life, the calendar of December, and all the things we have to get done, that's left brain thinking. So I look in their right eye.
Oh man, that's a challenge. I'm going to have to think of that the next time I sit down and have that conversation. That's really powerful.
So emotional stuff that somebody's saying to me after I've breathed and found something that I appreciate about them, the emotional stuff they're talking about, I'm on their left eye. All the other stuff, 1, 2, 3, first base, second base, third base, logic, rationale, all of that logical stuff, left brain, right eye.
Interesting. I'm going to have to take some notes as we're talking. I'm totally digging this. Yeah. By the way, you guys do me a favor. as you're watching this, would you write in the comments, even if you're watching on the recording? So I just want to make sure I got this right. So you said left brain, right eye, right brain, left eye. Which
That's
just
right.
for,
Opposites.
yeah, so you said in creative is left brain, analytical is right brain, correct?
No, opposite. Right brain is creative.
Yeah.
You write it down.
I'm writing it down right now. And by the way, you guys type it in. So right brain, creative.
Right. Which means we look in the left eye.
Yeah, this is where I'm getting lost. So right brain is creative. You look in the left eye, and you're doing this to kind of like mirror to match those back and forth and tie in left brain and right brain thinking and by connecting with them. Which, to your point on being scientific, don't know, but for you it makes a big difference. So this is really cool.
Worked.
By the way,
and it keeps me focused. They're talking about their family. They're talking about the new baby. They're talking about their daughter getting married. They're talking about all the things in life that are good and some of the sadnesses that go on, the mourning, the loss, the grief. But anytime there's that emotional conversation, I always look in the left eye. And every time there's something that has to do with business, rationale, logic, I'm repeating myself, but
that's okay.
That's left brain. And you can go on and Google left brain, right brain, and it'll give you a bunch more information. But left brain is right eye.
I like that. And did you make that up? Did you hear somebody else somewhere? Do you remember?
I think it was a divine inspiration. I was studying right and left brain. And I was thinking about how to really connect with people when they're speaking on topics that are coming from that side of their body. And it goes further. I mean, when I feel pain in the right side of my body, I'm thinking about what is it in my brain, my left brain? Am I under too much pressure? Have I got too much scheduled? Have I overly committed myself? And that's left brain stuff. Yeah. So I would feel more tension or, maybe stiffness in my right side. Wow. Anyway, there's more to that, but in terms of what your question was, how do I stay present? I breathe, I appreciate the other, and I stay focused on their right or left eye, depending on the topic that they're speaking to me about.
Wow. Yeah.
And I just let them go. I don't tell my story. In terms of being present and listening is not interrupting. Listening is not jumping in with your story. Listening is not trying to fix it. Listening is not being the end-all, be-all and getting the attention back on yourself. Listening is presence. And my church in New York City had the sign out in front announcing the pastor's sermon, and the title was, Love is Presence. So when we're listening, we are truly expressing the greatest level of love.
Love is presence. Yeah, it's so interesting because and as you know, because I've worked with Blair for so many years, like we practice so much presence, and it's like even as I'm because for me, like even when I'm on the show with you, there's other things that happen around. It's like how do you focus and block out everything to just make sure that you're being 100% present? And I think it is that ritual and that practice of just how present are you all the time, constantly asking yourself how do you become more present. And I love, Blair, he'll ask that question. He's like, how could you be more present? And I don't think it's a never ending process of how can you be as present as possible with whoever you're with, whether it's a guest in your chair or just in your life in general. It's how do you make sure that your presence is enough? So is there any way you can evaluate from your perspective, Anne, like how present you are? Do you ask yourself anything, or like what would be your guide or your measurement to know how present you are? Is that something you ever track or are aware of?
It's a very good question, and I don't think I've ever tracked it. I always feel that when I walk away from a person after the conversation, that my goal is to have them feel heard, have them feel loved, and most of all, have them feel like they've been recognized, that, that they are worthy of someone listening to them and being present with them. So I can only go by the next time I see them, and they would say things like, wow, I really enjoyed, just like we did when we were getting ready for today. We said, I can't believe we had such a great conversation. Yeah. I guess that would be my best way to gauge whether or not these practices, this know-how that I have in being present has worked, because I want to be with them again and they want to be with me again.
Totally. And just be able to pull that to the table and let people pay attention to that and be able to use it. Yeah, I love that. Super good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, by the way. And again, people are reacting right now and chatting back with you. So again, it's good to be able to see some people getting in the chat, getting involved and commenting, and just being involved. So thank you guys. Speaking of being present, that's why I ask you guys, all the time, give me some hearts, give me some love, because the question is, are you present or are you multitasking? Listen to this in the background while you're cleaning your house. Like sometimes you got to multitask, sometimes you can be in it, but the idea is how do you make sure that you are as present as possible? So that's super good.
Jason, can I just tell a quick story about a woman a salon owner in LA?
Yeah.
I dropped by her salon one day, and I went to the salon coordinator and said, I'm Mincey, I'm with Redken, I'd like to speak to the owner, Mimi. And she looked at me and she just said, Mimi is with a guest. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm Ann Mincey, I'm with Redken, it'll take me 5 minutes, I just want to say hello to her. And she said, excuse me, but Mimi is with a guest. You can make an appointment. She'll be happy to sit with you when you come in, but right now she's with her guests. And I walked away from there and I thought, wow, if I were Mimi's guest, I would love to be in her chair. And so I did make an appointment. I did go back in and I asked her, how do you do that? How do you so stay in presence with your client? She said, I envision that there's this capsule that comes down, this like plexiglass capsule that comes down like
silence or something
around us, and that nothing can penetrate, no one can get in unless it's my husband or my children who need me during that time I'm with my client. That's what I envision, and that's the practice that I put into my salon and my career, and it's worked really well for me. So I really appreciated that lesson, to just envision yourself in
that
conversation.
Like cone, yeah.
Yeah,
I love
and
it.
And one other story I heard the other day is that you can envision a conversation that you're videotaping the other person telling you their stuff, their story, their expression, their experiences. Mm-hmm. And if you interrupt, it would be like you're interrupting the documentary. And you never see a documentary filmer ever giving their 2 cents worth while they're filming the documentary. So you can also think of your face and your voice and your presence as being a camera that is capturing the beauty of someone's story and allowing them to tell their whole story like a big balloon that's inflated. And they tell their story and it's deflating, and only when the balloon is fully deflated do you get to jump in and tell your story. And that is also this gift of presence.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. I was, there's some interesting conversations I've had around this, because there's kind of 2 schools of thought on having this conversation around interrupting versus being present versus whatever. Because as I've already probably done to you several times, interrupted as we were bantering, right, in that banter mode. But what I think is very fascinating about this idea of presence is that, there are 2 types of people. There are people who like listen till the very end, and there's people who kind of jump in the middle. And I like to just ask myself, is this a selfish interjection? Is it adding value to it? Like I kind of look at it from that standpoint of, am I adding to the flow of the conversation by jumping in, or am I truly interrupting to say something personal or steal a limelight or something? And it's hard, like as a person who likes it, I think really quickly, but to settle my mind down and be able to listen has always been something that's very, to your point, that breathe in and take that second and really connect and go deep with people. Now, if you can relate to this in any way, shape, or form, you guys, as you're watching this video right now, do me a favor and say, I can relate. Like, have you ever been busy? For crying out loud, if you've been busy, do me a favor and type in the chat and say busy, because I think it makes a huge difference if we know that our busyness can create scatteredness, right? Is that we can really just, divide our attention and divide our focus instead of being there. So, Ann, you kind of talked about, some of the practice that you have on a daily basis. What are some of the things that, again, to the point of that stylist is sitting in the chair? Because we talk to salon owners, we talk to stylists, we have other people in other forms of businesses that watch this all the time that I'm sure get busy and overwhelmed, and they go a lot of different places. Yeah, Tiffany says she can totally relate. Thanks, Tiffany, by the way, for shouting out, for being on. Good to have you, right? And the idea here is, as you go through all these things and you're trying to figure out what are those next stages, what would you advise to that stylist who's sitting in the chair? How do you ask questions and get your job done? And I guess I want to go a different way with this question. How do you, this focus of hair versus guest. So I'm going to take a little sidestep here. A lot of times when somebody sits in the chair, they can talk about their life versus talk about their hair. Yeah? How do you stay present with the job at hand and that person's life? Because there's this like psychiatrist hairdresser thing going on also. How do you balance out, Anne, that idea of working with that client, being so sucked into their story and what they're doing and being present, but also getting the job done of being there? How did those two merge together in some sort of elegant presence dance, if you will? Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
My favorite quote of all time is, people are not an interruption to our business. People are our business. And so you have a person that has been divinely appointed to be sitting in your chair. I am a client. I'm not a hairstylist. I've never been to beauty school, but I've sat in hundreds of styling chairs in my life. And I can tell you that there is this lovely waltz, this dance that goes between my stylist and myself. But the main thing is that they keep the information and the education and our conversation around me. And I have a friend here in Portland. She said, I love the way my stylist does my hair and my hair color. I would not go to anyone else, but she never stops talking. She said, I just want her to stop talking. And so we just be aware of how much you're capturing the moments that you have, these precious moments that clients like myself and my friend Janet have sitting in your chair, and allowing you not to feel like you have to guide the conversation, but take what I'm saying to you and translate it almost like a language in your own head to how can what Anne or Janet is saying to me mean something to their hair. So if I'm saying that I'm going now on a 16-day road trip to get my son back to Oregon from Oklahoma after his graduation, and I'm going to be getting up early in the morning and in the car all day, what does that mean to the time I have to spend with my hair, the energy I want to spend on my hair, the products I'll need to have for this road trip? So you take my life and the things I'm telling you about it, and you make this transition into how you can serve me and my hair, my skin, my nails.
All of the things
better.
Business,
Business-wise, by what I'm giving you. And not occupy the conversation with what's so much going on in your life, but what your life can add to mine through the service and the products you have to offer.
That was a good piece. What your life can add to mine. Not that all of it hasn't been great, but I'm saying that was a golden nugget in my mind. Somebody do me a favor and type it in the chat. That piece in there, because I think that is it, right? Is we one of the things that we have is we have a board game for salon owners, right? And it teaches consultation. And one of the activities that we do is there's a game in there called Back to Business. And it's the idea that whatever topic gets thrown at you, how do you get back to the business of hair? And I think what you just said is kind of like a missing piece in there that doesn't get said sometimes, is that idea that that back to business sort of idea is, okay, I'm going to be traveling in the car for this many days. Like, how am I handling my hair? And if you take that question, like, how are you handling your hair in that situation? What would be valuable to you? What's your makeup going to, it's like, what can I add to your life that would be valuable to you because of my knowledge and because of my know-how, because of my expertise? That's a big deal.
Yes,
yeah, that's awesome. That's really good. I like that a lot, actually. That's super fun.
Thanks.
That's good. So, Anne, have you always, this is I don't know, I just felt like asking this, but have you always been like this? Like, if I would have met like 7-year-old Anne, would you have been on the playground and been like, Jason, it is so pleasant to play with you on the swings today. Like, this time has been incredible. Like, was 7-year-old Anne like super focused and present? Like, did you grow to this level of presence based on necessity? Have you always just been very grounded? What is your thought on that?
Oh, that is such a good question. When I was 7, I spoke with what they call a lateral lisp. So instead of saying my S's out front, like I say them now after speech therapy, I used to say my S's out the side of my mouth like that.
Really?
So
okay.
I didn't have many friends on the playground because I would spit all over.
Wow! But you worked on it and changed it from being 7.
I worked on it. I changed it. I learned how to speak, and my S's are now clear. So that's just a little side note.
Yeah, side note on Anne, I didn't know.
Probably growing up as a pastor's kid, as a preacher's daughter, and having different churches that we were assigned to, we learned very quickly how to get into the church and have friends and become involved with all the activities in and around the programs. And of course, the pastor's daughters would be the first ones to sign up to do whatever. Right. And so that atmosphere helped me. So feeling inferior, wanting to be included because of my lisp, growing up as a PK, pastor's kid, and being involved in the church, and then my wonderful 44-year experience in my life with Redken. For so many years, Redken was my significant other.
No, and, 44 years is no joke, Ann. That's some time to be there.
It is some time, yes, and I'm grateful because of the experiences. I can tell you the first national sales meeting I attended at the Sheraton Universal in California, I was speaking to one of the trainers, platform artists at the time, and he and I were engaged in this fabulous conversation. I was feeling so very elated that he would be talking to me, a brand new field rep, just fresh from the field, green behind the gills, as they say. And someone came up and interrupted our conversation and took his attention away from me and him. And in that moment, Jason, I said to myself, I will never allow that to happen to somebody else. And so that was the other point I thought would be important for us to share today, and that is when you're engaged. Like if you and I were standing at the symposium talking and someone else recognized you and they want to come up, I never ignore them. I always I see out of the corner of my eye, I can see that they're standing there. I'll put my finger up, or I'll touch the top of their arm from their shoulder to their elbow. I'll just let them know, I know you're here.
I've seen you, you're
I
present
can see
here.
you, but I would not lose my eye contact with you. And then if there's a break, if they stay there, I will say, Jason, excuse me one moment, and I'll turn to the person and say, you know what, if you will just give me about 5 minutes, I'll be right with you. I promise you, I'll find you, and I will give you the same attention that I'm giving Jason right now when we get together. Would that be okay? And invariably, they'll say, oh, I'm so sorry. Of course, that would be fine. Yeah. So that is something that has really helped in this whole presence practice that I've had over the years, is not ignoring or making them feel like, oh, okay, she's too busy or he's too busy for me, and walk away. I want them to know that they're as important as you are, but right now you are and I are in this bubble. We're in the bubble, and the presence bubble, and they will be in the bubble too in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
So, those are the practices that Redken has taught me, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. And, it's so, man, it's so powerful to see and watch, because like I said, I feel like I'm kind of from a different planet in regards to that sometimes. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I was always trained from the opposite example of that, was if you were talking with one person and then other people started to approach, because we used to do trade shows and events all over the country for large promotional teams. And the goal was always to do to open your presentation from one to many as soon as you could, right? So it would be like if you and I were talking and somebody else came up, I would immediately acknowledge, open up, start to expand that conversation, be like, hey, I'm going to answer some questions. I'll make sure I answer them for you too. And then you kind of spread your attention amongst whoever you're talking to. And again, that right, wrong, different, training, whatever. Yeah. I think just the point of it is, it's very different, and I think the way in which you do it, I keep saying this because I felt it, is that it's very different, it's unique, it's not normal, because most people are willing to be distracted and interrupted and put out and all of those other things. So to your point, I guess 44 years being involved with Redken and kind of growing up and from that lispy preacher's kid all the way through to today. I mean, it really is interesting kind of knowing who you are today and how that's impacted you to be able to have that deep level of connection. And you and I both share the same, not stylist connection, right? We've been in I haven't been in the industry as long, but to be able to be in the space and observe kind of how those interactions can be socially awkward, or it can be rough and uncomfortable. I think it's a very interesting way to observe it. So,
and may I just an addendum to that, sidebar
please.
to that, is that, to your point, there are times where somebody will come up and we'll embrace them. We'll say, oh, I'm so glad you're here. We were just talking about and including them in the conversation. So it's not like every single time that I'll do the I'll get with you in a moment thing. There are very many times that we will embrace and include the other in the conversation as well.
Yeah. Which actually, thank you for saying that, because I think there's another question I want to ask you around like one-on-one meetings. Like I work with salon owners all the time, and oh my gosh, that they can't have like we talking about their business and being very serious about what needs to happen and what's going on, and they'll have 1,000 distractions. 8 people walking in their office, running around, doing all these things. And by the way, if you're a distracted salon owner, do me a favor and just be guilty and say distracted in the chat. I want to know if you're one of those distracted people. But they have a lot of distractions going on. All those things are happening a million ways from Sunday. And then they have to have one-on-one meetings with their team. And, I've worked with clients who will be distracted because they're in their same environment. What can you do to have a one-on-one meeting and eliminate distractions with your team? Because I think a lot of people want to be undistracted, but just their environment messes them up. So what are some of the things that you would say when you're having a one-on-one meeting you could do to be more present, more focused?
If it's a one-on-one meeting and it's scheduled, it is the most important thing. That employee is not an interruption to your business. The employee is your business. And you've scheduled the time. And I just think being a Mimi and just believing that there's this capsule around, unless it's an emergency, that somebody needs you right now, if it's your family, most of all, all the distractions can wait until you give your full, undivided, personalized, individual attention to that precious person that is helping you build your dream, build your business, and you're helping them build theirs as well. Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point is like, so part of it is just planning, I think is what you're saying there, right?
The expectation is when you walk in my office and the door shuts and we're one-on-one, I'm not going to allow anything, nor do I need the employee to come in with their phone or their distractions either. It is you and me, and we're going to do this beautiful meeting and have a positive, envisioned goal. Without a vision, the people perish, but with a vision, they can do anything. So have the goal for the meeting and then go forward with that. And when the door opens, then you can go back to all your activity.
Yeah, I think, Tiffany raised her hand, says she's one of those distracted people out there and paying attention to it. And I think, to your point, I think it is that planning and really, I think the thing that I'm noticing with you, Anne, is just, it's like your intention is just different. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you a lot of people say, tell me exactly what to do, right? Like, do I put a sign on my door? Do I do this? Do I have a mean face when somebody comes in the room? Like, should I just tell people to go away? Like, what do I need to do? And the thing that I'm noticing as you're talking about this is it's less about the do and more about what your intention in that moment is, right? Like you just said, Jason, that's the most important thing when I'm having that meeting with that person, to be present with them. And so it's like whatever needs to happen will take care of itself for that intention to come to fruition. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And why are you having the meeting? The meeting is to move your business and this person's career forward. And there isn't anything that would be more important that could distract you from that in that moment. And how long is the meeting going to be anyway? Set a time limit. It's a 20-minute meeting, and I'm going to be prepared for it, and we're going to get in and out of it. But while we're together, you have my full, undivided attention.
Yeah, it's for some reason it came to mind. I wish I had the video clip that I could play it, because it's a little ridiculous. But did you ever see, and I don't know if I could pull it up, but did you ever see the video of the guy who was on CNN, and he was in his home office, and his kid accidentally comes into the room while he's being interviewed on CNN? Have you seen this clip?
No, I've got to watch it. I'll find it.
Yeah, it's really powerful. But anyway, if you've seen the clip, say I've seen it in the chat. But it's this clip, and maybe I'll post it in the comment section below at some point. But or I'll see if Dean or Caitlin are on, if they can post it in the comment section. That would be incredible. I'd love to see it. But anyway, so this guy's on CNN. He's getting interviewed. He's in his home office. He's doing his thing. And he's talking about some, political something or other. And the kid sneaks in the office, and he notices it, but he doesn't do anything. and he just continues to do his thing. And then the mom opens the door and crawls on all fours to get the kid, grabs the child screaming like out of the office, and pulls the kid out the door. And it's the most hysterical clip because the guy just is trying to stay as present and as focused as possible without those distractions. And it just reminded me of like, that kid is like the world trying to get your attention. And that's what makes it funny, you know. It's like, and that mom is your brain trying to eliminate that distraction, but knowing that it can't necessarily.
Ah, that's so good. And I've got to watch it.
Yeah, it's a really good clip. Hopefully somebody can find it, post it. If you guys know, you guys post it. But anyway, it just reminds me of that. It really is that struggle, and it's like, I always tell people, humor is funny when it points out something that you know is true. You know what I mean? Yeah, Trixie says she saw it, and it's the nanny. That's even better. The nanny is trying to pull the kid in from the other room. But yeah, it's just that idea that like you could find those moments, and like we really do kind of have that mental battle all the time with ourselves, trying to figure out like, how do I stay present? How do I stay present? And it's going to sound weird, Anne, but you seem to do it effortlessly. It doesn't like it's like you watch these professional athletes in the Olympics, and they do something, and you're like, oh, I could totally do that because it's just effortless when they do it. What would you say is your key to making it feel more effortless? Because I think I still work hard to do it. I'm sure other people try and work hard, and it feels effortless when you do it. What would be your advice on trying to make it more effortless to see?
It may be the stage of life that I'm in. And the fact that I have mellowed, and that I'm not trying so hard or setting my goals and the achieving and all that. So I have more time and have more intention and have more heart for others. Deferring others is better than myself, and wanting them to feel, as I said earlier, feel heard, feel loved, feel recognized and worthy. And so it could be that I'm at that stage, but how beautiful that you're giving people who are not at this stage of life, but are still coming up into their careers to have this kind of information, that if you begin now to have that kind of intention around being present, how much further in your life, your career, your goals you will be, because the world is hungry for it. You think about all of the noise that's in the world from the time we get up in the morning, get outside, in the salon, I think about going into Walmart and just hearing the public service or at the airport and hearing all the announcements. All of that noise is coming into us. And for us to be able to shut it out and focus on another person for just a few moments, deferring to them, allowing them to feel this worthiness. It's the greatest gift in the world I think we can give each other. Just like now. I mean, you're giving me such an opportunity by being here and to share this information, and you're listening, and I appreciate that so much.
It's my pleasure.
My finance guy, who has put together my trust and wills and all that, the other day was telling me his wife was on a mission, and she was trained in a specific listening technique. And there were people in war-torn areas in the world where these people, like herself, were being sent. And all they did all day long was simply sit down and listen to people who have had no one to hear them. They have all of these experiences, but there's been no one to hear them. So this mission group is going in, and all they're doing...
That's their only job.
Their only job is to listen.
Wow.
And to hear what has gone on in the country, in their homes, with their families. And it's given these people new life. The people who are the speakers, who are the ones who are expressing, because no one has ever listened to their story. I just think that's great. Wow. And so we can look at that. You think about the clients coming into the salon. Very many of them are divorced, living alone, single moms, single dads. They don't have a whole lot of people who can listen to them and their story. And I'm not saying that you're a psychologist and you have to fix their problems. Most of the time, people simply want to be heard. They are not looking to you to solve the issue. They just want somebody to listen to the issue.
Yeah, I think we're taught. I don't remember who told me this analogy. It might have been Jane Johnson. It might have been somebody a long time ago. But they said oftentimes that we're involved unintentionally in a tennis match, right? Is it's like, I knock it to you, you knock it to me, I knock it to you. We should play tennis back and forth. But the more powerful thing is What if the tennis ball gets hit to you and all you do is grab it and hold it? Right? Like, and you just put it down. And it's that idea that you've sent the communication and it was received versus it was returned.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
And it's such a simple analogy to just say, okay, thank you, Anne. I've heard what you said. I appreciate it. As opposed to like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And it's like, if you think about it, every argument is like a sped up tennis match, right? It's like, and this, and this, and this, and this, and like it speeds it up. But that idea of like grabbing that tennis ball and just holding on to it and saying, thank you for that. It's been received. It's that delivery of communication just completely changes. And I think that it feels as a spiritual being, it feels completely different when somebody just receives your communication and they hold it, as opposed to, trying to return it with and one up it. And I'd say my wife gives me grief on things like that, because not only do I sometimes return it, but I return it and one up it. Right? I'm a one-upper I have to be very careful of sometimes, right? Like I didn't do it to you today, but I did add. I always there's a relate/one-upping. And by the way, I'm only selling myself out so you guys don't feel as guilty. That's why I'm doing it. But like, for example, you said I went to South Africa. I went to Tanzania. Like, I wasn't trying to one-up, but I was returning. And in my mind, that's relating. Like, you were there. Yes. Here's my experience that was related to you. But if you said I was in South Africa and I was like, oh, I've been to South Africa 10 times. Right? Like, I've been 10. And I think it's just that idea of being able to be in that, and I haven't been 10, by the way, but it's just that idea of, being able to not just return it, but just be able to be willing to share and be willing to hear, and be willing to communicate. So yeah, super, super good.
I love the idea that the word listen, Listen, is also, you mix the letters up, it spells silent.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And if you mix the letters up, it also spells enlist. Oh. So we get silent, as you're suggesting. We listen with full presence. And it's so much easier to enlist others in our cause, our business, our services, our product, or whatever it is, because we have been silent with them, listened to them, and now we can enlist them. I think that's the most brilliant thing I ever saw.
Yeah, that's good.
I have to give credit to my friend Steve Shapiro for that. He taught the art of listening, no longer on the planet with us, but Steve was a brilliant listener and taught listening, and he showed me that correlation between silent, listen, enlist.
Super good. And you guys, if you're digging this and you're really loving all this content, do me a favor, hit the heart button, hit the like button as many times as you're getting value for what Anne is laying down today. And Anne, this is so good. I feel like, it's funny to me, not funny, it's enjoyable to me. And it's fun, I guess is what I wanted to say, is that it's fun to be able to have this level of conversation about listening, because it's a underutilized detail in everybody's day-to-day life. And, to be able to chat with you for an hour about listening to other people. I think so many people have heard things but haven't listened. And it's that idea of, we hear so much, we're constantly figuring out what we can tune out. Like you mentioned, going back to something you said earlier, is like at the airport with the overhead announcements, or in Walmart, or like in the car. Like, there's constantly this background noise and stuff, that exists there. I had a friend of mine, his name is Alfredo, and he went to he did a 40-day, like, I think it was 20, he's trying to go to 40 days of a silence retreat, but he's been doing like 10 days, then he did 20 days at a silence retreat, like just absolutely nothing, just completely on his own, blocked off. And what was really powerful is, he said when he came back from his silence retreat, how much the world came back in. He said it was like, he came after the science retreat and he came back and he said the world just like flooded back in his life within 24 hours. And he said I was so aware of all these little white noisy things that are just competing and honking and whatever. And he just said, you get used to it. It's like you used to the feeling, you tolerate it, and you just put up with it. And it's really powerful to think that we're constantly going, I don't want to listen to that, I don't want to listen to that, I don't want to listen to that. And it's this like blocking kind of going on, but you still are accepting so many different distractions and attention and all those things all the time. So I love this focused attention on how do you really take the time to block it and learn it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what relating back to the question or the comment that I made in the video that you played at the beginning of the hour, the fact, remember your first love, and why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you listening? Why are you being present to the other? Why are you caring about what they have going on in their lives? What is it for you? What is the reward for you in this and the reward for them by your listening to them? So going back to the why is always the best thing. A great quote that I found, an author by the name of David Augsburger said, being heard is so close to being loved that for the average person, they are almost indistinguishable.
Wow, that is a great quote.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I feel like I have to make a 90-degree turn here for this next question. And I say it's on the heel of what we're talking about, but I mean, I want to take a 90-degree turn to say, what about people that you don't want to listen to? What about those conversations? You talked about intention and like you're loving on somebody and you want to listen to hear, and you're around somebody that is just sour and bitter and you know, I want to say abusive, but abusive only in the sense of like giving you something you don't want abusive. You know, they want to get out. You know, you're trying to listen. Do you have any techniques, Anne, or do you just kindly exit those conversations? Like, what do you do when you're around somebody and you're trapped in that conversation, or do you just love on them and listen to them harder? Like, what is Anne's response to that person you want to get out of a conversation with?
My first response now is there are two emotions, fear and love. So if the other is not coming from a heart of love or a conversation or words of love or a mind of love, actions of love, they've got to be coming from all of those from fear. Mm-hmm. That's the only other choice we have. Anger, jealousy, envy, striking back, violence, whatever it is coming from the root of fear. What are you afraid of? What is it that is causing you to have this angry response, this critical response? What are you afraid that you'll lose? Are you afraid that you'll gain from this? And if I can get to the core of what their fear is, then I'm more willing to listen to the whole stuff. I used to say, just let them puke it all up, just let them get it all out. Yeah. Because at the end, just like that inflated balloon, at the end of all of their fearness, if that's a word,
I'll take it,
will come the opportunity to inject love and to inject care, to inject compassion, to inject appreciation. So if somebody is in front of me and they're just spouting off about all kinds of things, I let them go. And then I ask them, what is the most important thing that you're afraid of right now? Getting that out.
Straight ask them that question.
Straight out. What are you afraid of?
Wow.
What's causing this anger? Or whatever the emotion is. Sure. And being willing to just let them tell me. And then going to the fact that you don't have to be this way. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to have this criticism. You don't have to live this way. How is it working for you? Right? That's my other favorite question.
Yeah.
How is this critical nature working for you?
Yeah, totally.
And then give them a thought about finding something you can appreciate in the situation. Because if we can go to appreciation, if we can find gratitude, if I can be thankful, even in the worst of my circumstances, that begins to raise my level of mind-body connection, mind-heart connection, and out of that will spring new thought, new vision, new dreams, new goals. That's what I would do. So everybody's either in a love mood or in a fear mode. So, that's how I figured it out.
Yeah. And so, so I feel like I got to poke one more time. Have you never gracefully exited from a conversation that you wanted to get out of? Or has it been something that, like, more recently you'll just let people, vomit all over the place? Or do you is there a limit?
No, there's none.
Wow.
In my faith, and I'll just bring this in my faith, my mom used to say to me, at the base of the cross, we're all the same. Wow. So if they are vehemently angry and I just feel like it's a mission, just like those people who go to those war-torn places. I'm on a mission, and this person has been brought to me on a divine appointment. It is my job to do. If the work comes to me, it is my work to do. That's been my motto my whole life.
Whoa, say that again. That was really good.
If the work comes to me, if the angry person comes to me, it is my work to do.
Wow.
It is my appointment to be there for them. And, and maybe the conversation doesn't go anywhere, but at least I was true to what I believe I needed to be in the moment. And that is just be loving and compassionate in the moment. Yeah.
And that's a big thought. That's a big thought, and you've altered my brain a little bit on that. And, I have to think on that one a little. So thank you for that.
And it can be exhausting. It can be exhausting.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we have our own parameters. We know how long we can stay in a conversation. Right. If we don't see it going anywhere, we can give them a hug and tell them we'll pray for you or whatever.
I'll be praying for that.
Wish you good luck.
Yeah.
But we do need to have our own parameters so we don't get stuck and sucked up into their energy, because it can be exhausting.
Wow. Okay, so I guess that kind of leads me to the last question I want to ask you that I just think is I've asked almost everybody who's been on Lessons with Legends this question is, Anne, for you, like with what you do, I mean, and you do incredible things. You travel around, you go and do education for salons, you tell them amazing stories, not only inside in Redken, but you really can share your gift with people through your cup of time and all those things. What do you really want to leave behind as a legacy for others that you feel is your work? Like you said, if the work's come to me, then it's your work to do. But what do you want to leave behind as a legacy? What do you hope people say, at the end of your career of stuff, which I know you have lots more career, but I'm just saying, at the end, what do you want to look back and say that people got from you?
That I inspired their own brilliance through my written and spoken word, that every one of us is significant. We have a place to shine, and if we don't do our work, it's not going to get done, because we are uniquely purposed where we are doing what we do with those who are sent to us to do it.
That was good.
And so my legacy would be shine on.
I love it. And again, Anne, I think it's a really incredible thought to leave on. It's just this thought process of, if the work has been sent to you, it's yours to do. And to your point of like taking what God, the Great Spirit, like we would both say God, but just in that framework of really understanding what you've been given and what you've been tooled up with until this point to process, handle, and deal with is just profound. So I'm really grateful for you to be on today and to share your gift of presence with everybody that was here today, that was either on with us live or watching via the recording later and just checking out what was going on. Do you have any final thought, Anne, that you want to leave people with just to help enhance their lives and to leave them with a final thought from you?
3 words. Love is presence. To practice that at home, first of all, practice it with self, and then go into your community, into your work, into your life, knowing that it is the greatest gift you can give the world right now is your presence.
Super good. Super good. Super good. And thank you so much for hanging out with me and spending your hour and spending the time being here. And I just am so grateful to know you as a friend, to get to see you soon. I know you're doing a class coming up at Symposium, correct?
Yes.
You have a class coming up at Symposium. I will be seeing you out there. Now it's within days. Like we're counting days now at this point. But I'm excited to see you and see your brilliance on stage at Symposium as I've seen before. And I'm just so powerful. And any of you guys want to get in touch with Anne, do me a favor, comment below, and I'll make sure you get plugged in with Anne. If you want to have her come into your salon, you want to have her check out some more of the stuff that you're doing, or just learn more about what she's about, I will make sure you guys get the information.
Right.
And Anne, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm super grateful.
Thank you, Jason. Love you. Love your family.
Yeah, thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. And if you guys want more shows like this, do me a favor and comment in the comment section. Say more Lessons with Legends as we interview other great people from around the world that are making an impact just like Anne is today. We'd love to see you on another show. Do me a favor. Share this video so other people can see it. And Anne, it's been incredible. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
All right.